But it's what it's going to do. It's going to liquidate your wallet forever. It's going to do. It is just a huge tax. It's been tested in other countries, and it hasn't worked. It cost a lot of money, and it didn't change the environment in any way. And that, of course, is being proposed right now. So there's a lot of attempts to raise taxes. You know, the budget has been soaring, the deficits are soaring, but we were told not too long ago by our president that we had to get control of the budget. And he proposed a $17 billion cut. You know, $2 trillion increase, a $17 billion cut, and it's only a cut in what was already increased. And they put that stuff out there like we're supposed to believe this. Oh yeah, I guess they're doing the best they can. But that is all ending. That is all ending. What is happening today is people are losing confidence in the droves. And the one place that I have been encouraged, the people who aren't buying into this are the young people who are inheriting this. That's where I've been encouraged, and I still go to campuses. We get large crowds out. We get young people to crowds like this. And I have a lot of young people coming through my office in Washington, high school kids and college kids, interested in the Constitution, interested in monetary policy, interested in freedom and responsibility. So I believe that the young people will be able to figure it out. And that's what we have to do. We really have to help people understand this, because it will not come quickly. You do have to educate. Now, the surprise to me, if I had been asked this before the campaign started last year, what I expected, what kind of response I would have expected, I would say probably about average, like I generally have. I get 30 people out here and there. But there were a lot of people out there that have already heard about Austrian economics and sound money. It was unbelievable. I mean, to see people, you know, and hear people talking about it, and knew about Mises and Hayek and all these wonderful books that have been around. The information has been out there, and it's so much easier. And this is probably the reason it's much easier to get access to it through the internet. I struggled. I was curious enough, and I think that's the main thing we all ought to have, because we don't have all the answers, and that's what's wonderful about freedom. Since we don't have all the answers, we don't impose it on other people, but information is important to understand the system. But we have to be curious and try to figure it out, because I think there's some serious things to consider in environment. But you know, the marketplace, good principles of the market handles a lot of that as well, because you don't have a right to pollute your neighbor's property. You can't dump your garbage on your neighbor's property. You can't pollute people's water. You shouldn't pollute people's air. It's done with property rights. It's not by international regulations and taxation and doing silly things and then not figuring out, is the earth really warming, or is it warming in one spot and getting cold in another spot, or is this just you know, part of a natural occurrences? And for people in Washington especially, if you challenge the status quo, the conventional wisdom about global warming, boy, you are painted as somebody from the very, very dark ages. But the truth is, it does deserve a lot of attention and a lot of study. But that is our job, is to make sure that we can answer these questions. But I don't have any hope at all with the economic bailout programs, the recovery program, on what's happening. They only know one thing. You know, they did diagnose it. They figured the deficits were too high and there's too much debt. So they came in. Well, let's spend more money. Let's run up the deficits even more, and let's print even more money, and let's regulate more. So they might have sensed a problem, but they're just doing more of the same things. So I don't have any confidence at all, other than the fact that they will contribute to the demise of the dollar. But this past week we had some major conversations on the House floor dealing with torture. Now you'd think maybe the issue ought to be that, has our country been involved with torture? And I think a few of us saw some pictures a few years ago that it looked like we were involved with torture. And it looks like it didn't do us any good at all around the world. It did us a lot of harm. And I believe those individuals who have assessed it and said that that is a strong motivation for people to join the Al-Qaeda. Us being over there, us bombing their country, killing civilians, causing a lot of refugees, and then also torturing people. So if that is the case, the question is it legal? Well, no, it's not legal. It's illegal. It's illegal under our law. It's illegal under international law. Is it moral? Well, from my viewpoint, I think it's immoral. And does it do any good? There's no evidence that does any good whatsoever. Even though there's some that would say, oh no, you can't imagine how many terrorists that we have saved from coming here because we tortured people and got information. I had somebody, I'm a little group in Washington that comes to my office, and it's called the Liberty Caucus of other members. And we had a speaker a couple weeks ago, Matthew Alexander. And he's written a book, and it's called How to Break a Terrorist. And he has experience. He was in the Air Force, but he was trained in interrogation, and he did over 300 interrogations in Iraq. He was asked on numerous occasions by his superiors to torture, and he absolutely refused to do it. And he wrote a book, and it talked about this, and he says, and I believe him, that he got more information than any of the men, any of our people that tortured the criminal, you know, the so-called suspects and terrorists. So that I do believe. So there's every reason in the world. But is that what we were discussing this week about whether we should have an investigation to find out why we tortured and put this behind us? No, the debate was on what the CIA told Nancy Pelosi 4 years ago, who said what, and what was in her notes. So the Republicans said, what we're going to do is we're going to demand an investigation of Pelosi's conversations and the CIA. And you know, now that one I wouldn't have been invited to because that was just for the leadership. But we do get invited for top secret briefings about what's going on around the world. And I have a rule. I never go. There's two reasons I never go. First, you never learn a thing. And second, if you do go, all you hear is propaganda. So why go and listen to them? And of course, a lot of our members, and some on our side, were very sincere. They went to all this and listened to this, so many of those briefings, and they were convinced that Saddam Hussein was about to drop a nuclear weapon on Washington, D.C., you know. It was that kind of scare tactics. So, but that's what they want to do.